In studio with me this afternoon, Elder Shadrock, author of the Bible and the Blackman. How you doing, Elder?
Well, not bad. I was thinking, Eric, of having you write, help me to co-write that book.
Oh, really?
I think the Bible and the Blackman is just a component of all the books that are there, because the Bible and the Blackman is like putting one heading, one headline on all three of the books that are already there. The Truth and Line of Bible, the Forgotten Israelites, and the WOL Israelites and The Damned.
I'm going to take an excerpt out of the book, The Forgotten Israelites, God's Chosen People, and Other Bible Companions. The black Americans are still talking about unity while killing each other, still waiting for role models and political solutions while they are away from their God. When you place the African American alongside their white counterpart, they are bound to come out inferior, because today they follow the white man instead of leading him as they did before. We confuse ourselves in the search of our own identity, hereby supplying others with the material to label us. The black man of the Americas should have known that he is the true descendants of the children of Israel. Instead, he just sees himself as a black man and identifies himself with all other black people of the earth, and this is among the first mistakes made. The other black men of the earth were considered always as being different from the children of Israel. Tell us about that.
Well, I think it's very plain to see, Eric. One of the things that is very important to note is what is written in that book. Is that what we're seeing today? What we're seeing today is a whole. How do I put it? It's something on a shade of something hidden that is there. It is really showing itself, but to some eyes it is hidden. People are so smart, and yet at the same time they're blinded by popular opinions or by what somebody else said. That will put black people, or black people who were once slaves or descendants of slaves, put them in a situation whereby they cannot lead because they are being stifled with other philosophies. And mind you, not religion, philosophy. Because what I'm saying is that this is one of the tricks, is that you call everything religion. So you'll say that this is not this religion or not a religion. But religion in itself is the religion of Israel. The whole thing, the Bible from Genesis to Revelation, never talks of Christianity, never talks of Islam, talks only of the children of Israel. Yet you would see in the dictionary, if you're not a Gentile, then you're a Jew. And that's a lie. It would also be seen in the dictionary that Christ was the founder of Christianity. All Christians followed Christ. Another lie. I would like to use an adjective to describe that lie. Because if you read it, there is no Christians at all following Christ. Every one of the people in the scriptures, in the Holy Scripture, the Holy Bible that we read, they were all Israelites. And even if we are not, even if the children of slaves are not the children of Israel, let us put it this way, hypothetical, but let's try to focus on truth, on something that is there, hidden, and only a certain amount of eyes or pair of eyes can see it. If we are not the children of Israel, and we talk so much about God, all our grandmothers tell us, if you're going in this direction, turn to God, son. Turn to God. If you're going to turn to God and you read the Bible, why would you turn to Christianity? When the Bible is saying that everybody in there were Israel. I mean, the logic could be that, well, I want to find God. Let me open this Bible. Let me read this Bible. Okay, I open the Bible. The first thing I'm seeing is Moses. Who was Moses? He was not a Jew. He was not a Christian. He was nobody but a Levite Israelite. Then you go to the back of the book, and you're reading in the New Testament that some people are still saying it's a Christian book. I am still reading, studying it over and over, and I can't find out one Christian in there. And you go to the back of the book and you read about the revelation of John. And then when you're reading John, he's telling you about Israel, about this spiritual Jerusalem. about these last days. He's telling you that 144,000 Israelites would be saved. Why would he do that? What happened to Christians? If 144,000 Israelites will be sealed, that's a proper word, if 144,000 Israelites would be sealed, 12,000 from each tribe, then I wouldn't want to be a Christian. I would want to be an Israelite. You see, this is the great deception.
Now
yeah, go ahead.
Now you go further to say, you would just have to look at all that is happening today and see with your own eyes and be aware. When you are supposed to be taking up your leadership role and teaching these nations about your God, you end up praising these cursed nations, all in the name of identity. If the forgotten Israelites need identity, then for God's sake, look in your Bible, not Africa.
It's a funny thing that you said that, or read that. Since I came here, I've been here from last Sunday. All I've been seeing or hearing is color. Black people, black people, black people, black people, all the time. Now, if one hears black people all the time, of course, one is going to be thinking about other black people. Let's just don't think about the scriptures for the time being. Let's just look at this so-called land that we are trying to align ourselves with. Let us just look at Africa. Why is it that if you ask a person from the Caribbean or American or people from North America, including Canada, where they're originally from or who they are, why would they say I'm African Canadian or African American? And if you ask an African where he's from, he would tell you I'm from Ghana, I'm from Egypt, I'm from Nigeria. He never said he's from Africa. So that alone in itself, it's showing you that we are still walking in that darkness. Because we look at our skin color, because we were forced to look at our skin color. And once the skin color becomes the issue, then beyond the skin color is forgotten or not seen. If we see skin color, then Israel will be forgotten. Then our real roots would be forgotten. Then all we would concentrate on is Israel, is the color black. I want to say something on that. When we were brought here, we were singing in our own tongue about our roots. I don't know how many people know that. We were singing in our own tongue, or we weren't crying out for Allah on the ship, so roots were wrong. You know, it was the Muslims that sold us to the Christians. And today, we're finding ourselves looking to these same philosophies for salvation. That is the first mistake. What has happened since we got here is the fact that even though we were singing those songs at a time in our own language, that was taken away and we were given the language of English.
I'll tell you what, we'll continue that thought when we come back from break. In studio with me this afternoon, Elder Shadrock, the author of the Bible and the Blackman and a whole host of other books, The Word, The Israelites and The Damned, The Forgotten Israelites, God's Chosen People. If you'd like to be a part of this conversation, you can call us at 1-800-787-9111 out of Baltimore, 202-432-1450 here in Washington, D.C. And the time's 12:40. I'm Eric St. James on the WOL Radio Network, where information is power. Network, where information is power. In studio with me, Elder Shadrock. He's the author of the Bible and the Blackman. You were making any points, sir, when we went to break.
Now, what I was trying to say is when the slaves came, they were singing their folk songs in their own town. And after they learned English from Massa, they still continue to sing these same folk songs in English. And these songs were called Go Down Moses, Ezekiel and the Vision, Wheel and the Wheel, Daniel in the Lion's Den, and all these things. And we must remember that they could not read or write. And Massa was not teaching them from the Old Testament. Massa was teaching them about Jesus in the New Testament. So when you hear people, remember folk songs. folk songs is the in-depth of a people, the native of a place that they come from somewhere. A folk song tells about this country or this people, the culture, or where they're from, what they do. So when we're singing songs like that, we were not singing about the Sphinx. We were not singing about Egypt and the pyramids. We were not singing anything about Christianity. And we were not singing Amazing Grace then. Because what has happened with those folk songs, they turned them around after they gave us this so-called freedom to call it Negro spirituals.
Yeah.
But then they don't call it that anymore. Do you know what they call it now? Anybody knows what they call it?
Country Western.
It's integrated now into the culture, and this is form of leadership. If we cut our hair in a certain way, they cut their hair too. If we wear the clothes, I'm seeing the kids are wearing the clothes where the pocket is way down by the back of their knees.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing the other white kids are doing that too. If they wear the cap turned this way, the white kids are doing it. So the leadership is there, but the ability to lead is not there. So what I'm trying to say is the difference of who we are. We're not Africans, and we still have the power to lead if we've been taught, if somebody is there to teach us how to lead or to bring out the qualities that we do have within us. We have been fooled every day that we're Muslims. We've been fooled every day that we're Christians. And none of, if you read the Quran, it tells you to go back to the scriptures. It also tells you that a prophethood was given to the children of Israel.
Now, you go on to say, as you mentioned, it's not an issue of color, the issue is one of power.
That's right.
And it is for this cause that the enemy of the Forgotten Israelites go out of their way to make the African Americans zero, to disqualify them in every aspect of education, to degrade them in every form of intelligence, to deal them unfit as their social equal, to make them the lowest form of human beings. In other words, to make them so inferior that not even an overwatered dog would see them fit enough to raise his hind legs at.
Pretty strong statement.
Yeah.
But you know, from the University of Toronto, there was an article that one of my brethren, they brought it to me to show that there was this writer, I think he was a professor in a university in Georgia, that he wrote, I think he's what you might call a Khazarian. I do not call him Jews, but just for people to understand what I'm talking about, a Khazarian or an Edomite, wrote it and says that one of the things that he said is that the Jews, to use his words, the Jews are subordinate, but they have a chance of power. A matter of fact, they're not subordinate. The blacks are subordinate, but the Jews are vulnerable just as the blacks. But the Jews have much more ability of that vulnerability and to gain power and to be in control. But the blacks have no chance at all. I don't want to quote everything because I don't have his name here, but I promise what I'll do when I get back to Canada, I'll call you and I'll give you the name of that author or that writer that did that. Now it is things like these, or like people like Rochton from Ontario, the Western University, that talks about the black man and his IQ is so low. It has to do, we don't have, and this is something that people do not understand, Eric. The children of slavery, we don't have a political problem. And we are looking all the time for political solutions. We are looking all the time for physical solution, when our problem is spiritual. And if we don't address our spirituality, we would be given, this is a topic now that everybody takes up because it's popular. We would be always giving them things to talk about, black and white. If a black politician comes, he would be talking all day about the poverty of the black man, and we have to rise up, and we have to do this, and we have to kill the white man, and we have to go to Africa. He has food. And the white man was saying all the time, get out of here because these niggas can't do anything. So if we by ourselves utilize our intelligence by a teacher or teachers of the doctrine, we would realize who we are. Then we will be able to come out one at a time. We need spiritual leadership. We don't need Christian leadership. We don't need Muslim leadership. We need a leadership beyond that. We need a spiritual leadership to tell us about self, who we really are. We're not black people from every walk of life, all black people at all. We're not that kind of people at all. We're Israelites. We're not African Americans. We're Israelites. And this is what's supposed to be embedded within us. We're supposed to be telling our children. I've been listening out there about people having the situation about their children. Our children need to be educated. A child gets maturity from conception to about 3 years old. We have lost that. How to educate our children in the womb, how to bring them up. When a child passes 5 years, you can't do anything about that child. The child's personality is already formed. So the education, if I should tell you about Israel, you might go against me. But if we nurture our babies and start to tell them, giving them that pride, so when they are growing up, they can say, I'm an Israelite. And they come up in their community and to tell others, we're Israelites. Then that's the first step. I don't care, they have so many people these days are calling themselves Israelites. That's the first step. They might be wrong in however they might be doing it. But the first step is we should identify ourselves. Then we should try in a single accord and to do things the same way and to lead, because we are leading, as I said before, but we're not given the opportunity to really express ourselves the truth because we don't know it.
Now, and to further emphasize what you're saying there, you say, look at Africa today, a continent of lost hope, despair, hunger, and depression, a people whose spiritual cries have not been heard. Yet among the tears and chaos, one leader among those nations took $140 million of this country's money and built a Christian church on the Ivory Coast. This black African placed within the walls of his prized Christian church a parade of white pictures, a prize for the Pope or other white Christian leaders. Meanwhile, his people need bread. What kind of leadership is this for you, the Forgotten Israelites, to follow? What kind of a nation is this for you to be proud of? And a black nation having its own people praising the Gentiles and their gods.
You know, I came to the door and I've noticed there's a box of green and yellow and red. And it dawned on me that there's some time in history that there was a man called Marcus Garvey. And he told black people in America, or wherever he had the opportunity to speak, that they should never forget Africa. He told them also that they should never forget God. He also told them how important are the colors of Africa. When I was in New York, we went to buy a jacket, myself and our investigator in our community, in our Israelite community. We went to buy a jacket. When the woman opened the jacket.
I tell you what, Elder, we got to go to break again.
Okay.
Got to pay the bills. We'll finish that thought on Marcus Garvey when we come back from break. Jamibu, Nia, Munda, Hada, and Chris in Southeast, stay on the line. This is the WOL Radio Network, where information is power. The network where information is power. In studio with me this afternoon, Elder Shadrock. He's the author of The Truth, the Lie, and the Bible, The Forgotten Israelites, and the Word, The Israelites and The Damned, and also he has a seminar called The Bible and the Blackman. And Elder, you were, prior to break, talking about these colors and Marcus Garvey and Africa.
Yes, what I was saying is that at that time it was relevant because I think the children of slavery need to align themselves with people that looked like them. And because now we are much more educated of who we are, we did not understand why we would sing the songs that we were singing, why we were doing the things we were doing, why the preachers would just come in a little old church, see the way we preach, and then commercializing that. When we've been doing it from our heart and our soul, they had to be practicing it. The thing about the color, what I'm getting to, is that if you look at the color, this is a very serious thing. And I'll be talking a little bit about that tonight, the Blackman Center in Howard University. If we look at the colors, they are African. That's how we see it. But we don't see it that it works against us. We don't see that those colors was used by King Ahasuerus in the book of Esther. Babylonian, Ethiopian, they're all like enemies of God. Because in that same book, you would find the Israelite Mordecai. If you look at Mordecai, when you look at Mordecai, I think it's in the 8th chapter, when he was so happy, he put on his own clothes.
Yeah.
You know, and the colors were totally different. But this is another thing, and it's not a secret. Have you ever seen the Grand Master of the KKK? That's his color too. And he would tell you that he had that color long before you. Why would you have to be contestant to the man who was born a cross for you?
Yeah.
Right? And at the same time, talking about cross, and at the same time you hold on to it. Again, if you read Colossians, the 2nd chapter and the 14th verse, you would see everything that was contrary to us was nailed to the cross. And there we are, picking up the cross. Now, if I have a disease and I put it on this table or on this book, and you pick up the book, I say, thank God you do that, because you're gone with my disease.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what's happening. And because the children of slavery are so receptive, we pick that up and we go with it. Their God are helping them. Trust me. Because now we have become stepchildren. Because we no longer acknowledge our God. And you will see there's one people been enslaved so many times, or you can find it in the book of Judges, enslaved over and over and over and over again. Why? Disobedience. Every time we were disobedient and every time we served another God, we were punished. Remember, Eric, I can't punish your children. I punish my own.
Yeah.
Because I remember people telling me, well, if you're God's child, how come the black people punishing so much? If my son go against me, I'll beat his butt. I don't care about the law of the land or anything like that. It's my son. He go against the law, what I put in a house or the law in my community or whatever. This is my son, and he's supposed to do the things that I tell him to do. Then if you go against that, I'll punish him. If I go to the next door neighbor or to your child, you can call the police. I'm not in my right there at all.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is what is happening to black people, and they can't see it. Because every time they get the pressure, they go back to their stepfather. They go back to Christianity, and the further they go down and down, and you see the little old ladies crying, oh, Jesus, 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 and wearing the biggest cross ever. Now, this is, if I kill somebody with a weapon, let's say a knife or even a rope, I hang somebody with a rope, and say it is your son or somebody that you love. When they are gone, would you take that rope and say it's in loving memory of my son? Remember that rope killed him.
Yeah.
Why would you take this rope now and say in loving memory of my son and glorify? But the deception is they will say my Jesus died on it.
Yeah.
Why then? Well, Jesus says that when he was alive, mind you, when he was alive, that you have to pick up your cross and follow me. And if you can't go against your mother, your father, your brethren, your sister, and pick up your cross, you can't be my disciple. Now what happened then? Now, how do you define that cross? He was not dead yet. He was alive. The cross is the burden of the message that I am carrying.
Yeah.
And that because people would not understand it, and people would talk around it because they believe so much in the philosophy that's been ingrained in their vein, it becomes like blood in their stream. So that message, again in Matthew 10th chapter, the 22nd and 23rd verse, it happened since then. They have killed all the prophets. The children of Israel killed all the prophets, and then even Jesus came, and they said, what are we going to do? He said, you go from city to city, and you take this doctrine. But it was sarcasm, because he said, behold, you would go to the next city, and I would go and come again. And these people would not understand.